very excited to welcome my guest, AJ Ferrio. He himself is a veteran and has spent his time advocating for the rights of veterans and first responders. And it's just a pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Minda. It's a pleasure to be here.
So what got you interested in a military career when you were younger?
Actually, it was a surprise. I didn't know I was going to join the military. I had no plans on it. My dad died when I was really young. I was in the 7th grade when he passed away, and my mom worked to take care of 4 children.
Wow.
And I was 19 years old, just graduated high school, and I was sitting at home, and a Navy recruiter called me, and he said, "Hey, we understand that you're done with high school. Would you like to, excuse me, would you like to do something with your life that could be meaningful?" And I really wasn't that interested in the beginning, but I kind of put him off for a little bit. And then it was December 19th, he called me up and he said, "Hey, this is the last time I'm calling you. What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, you know what? Yeah, you didn't give up on me, so I'm not going to give up on the Navy." So I went ahead and joined right then.
So was it the Navy that taught you how to fly?
So I was applying for a program in the Navy to become a pilot, and by the time I got my packet in, the program no longer existed. So my career counselor made a call to Germany, because I was stationed in Naples at the time, and he said, "I know an Army recruiter there, and maybe we can get you in the helicopter program there." And about 8 months later, I got my packet in, and then about a year total, I was at Fort Rucker, Alabama, learning how to be a pilot in the Army.
That's so exciting. Mm-hmm. And you loved it, of course.
Oh, yes. And I got to fly Black Hawk, so, and the multiple missions of the Black Hawk. And then, so the way the Army works is wherever you go to every duty station, whatever they need, they put you in. And luckily, I got to go to medevac twice, once at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, which was the original dust-off. So, the history of Major Charles Kelly and, Vietnam, ushering in the era of medevac in the Army using helicopters. And then
to pick up wounded.
To pick up wounded, yes. And we covered the entire eastern seaboard at one point, in addition to being deployed to Bosnia, and then K4 kicked off and S4. So we were, and then Operation Desert Springs started, where we were monitoring the no-fly line just south of Iraq. So it was a busy time.
And I understand you got into a little bit of trouble.
Yes, when I was in Fort Carson, I was wounded in a mission. We were picking up an Iraqi woman that was injured by other Iraqis, and so we were just flying a standard mission, and it was daytime. After landing in firefights, you thought that's where the injury would occur. No, I was just on a standard everyday mission and caught shrapnel in the face from the bullets that came through the aircraft. And,
oh, wow. And so that really sort of changed your life in a certain way.
A little bit. It made me. I didn't realize how bad it was. My friends go, "Wow, you're still going to fly after that?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, that's what we're here for." And so then I retired out of Fort Carson. My daughter was a senior in high school, and our whole unit was moving to Texas. So I said, I can't switch, high schools as a senior. And so I retired out of Fort Carson, and then ran right back to Iraq. I started working for contracting companies. I worked for Blackwater for a bit, and then DynCorp, and went right back to the combat zone, not because I enjoyed people shooting at me, but because the people I was working with were all veterans, and we talked the same talk. We all know similar core of experience. So everybody that was there was a veteran in one way or another. So there was a comfort zone there.
Right, you found your people.
Right, exactly.
And they had a sense of service and a sense of values that you shared.
Exactly. And they all, were willing to lay down their lives for me and me for them. So whether the service was done or not, it was about the guy standing next to you.
Yeah.
And that kind of led into where we went with hospice afterwards, because we started a hospice company, my wife and I, to take care of veterans and first responders.
So did you meet her when you were over there?
Yes, when I was working for Blackwater, she was there as well, and she was an Army veteran as well. So we started dating, and then we got married. And then after that, she got pregnant, and then we couldn't go back to Iraq when she was pregnant. So it was actually her idea to get into healthcare. So we started taking care of veterans at an assisted living home in Arizona. And that was an eye-opener. guys who were in World War II that started having a touch of dementia, and we didn't realize what honoring meant at the time. It was just
Right.
kind of incidental to who we were. This guy, one guy in particular, his name was Art. He was a B-29 instructor pilot in World War II.
Wow.
So we were just like, hey, I'd buy pictures of B-29 so he could hang up in his room. And even though he'd forget his name at times, and at other times he'd come up to me and say, I can't find my keys. Once I put the aircraft away, could you drive me home? And just like, yeah, Art, we got you, buddy. And but it was just little things like that where you saw that memory was so, it was so strong and so powerful that
Right.
it resonated throughout his disease process. And he ended up passing away of end-stage Alzheimer's, but his military history kept shining through. Then we decided, because when you have a 30-bed assisted living home for veterans, you can only care for 30 people. So we saw what hospice could do and the benefits that it had, and where we were lacking when we're supporting our veterans in that. So we came out to California, because California has the highest population of veterans in the country currently, and an unproportionately high number of homeless veterans, 11,300 homeless veterans in the state of California.
Amazing.
Yes, 1.8 million veterans and 11,300 homeless. So we wanted to make an impact. These guys are dying alone, under bridges, in pain, cold, and they were willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for the country. And some of them were from Korea, some of them were from Vietnam, and a lot of the programs we found out there did not address the issues that were causing their homelessness. It's not a lack of housing. There's programs that the VA has to provide housing to these guys, but they're not accessing those.
Right. So it's sort of a lack of knowledge about what's available as opposed to a lack of resources.
Correct. And it almost seems it's by design that they don't know how to access this information.
Right.
And so with the
Right.
hospice, we wanted to take care of people, but then we noticed that why are we waiting for people to be terminally ill to say thank you? To give them a
Right.
challenge coin, a picture when they were in uniform as a hero. And we embroidered on a blanket and do stuff like that. And I didn't realize the importance of a challenge coin until they were cool. We collected them when we were in the military. You get the challenge coin from the general, you shake his hand. And we had a guy that when he passed.
So what is a challenge coin?
So a challenge coin is something you're given when somebody notices you're doing a good job. It's usually a sergeant major or a commander of some sort. They carry these coins with their unit identification on. And if you're going to get an award pushed through the military, it's got to go to an awards board. People are going to argue whether it's worthy of an award at all. Well, the general can just come down and say, hey, thank you, soldier, shake your hand, give you a coin, and then you just increase the motivation for everybody. History goes back to World War I, but it kind of changed over time. And so we had a guy that was a B-24 bombardier in World War II. And so I found a B-24 challenge coin, and I presented it to him. He was no longer verbal. He had Alzheimer's. But the morning he passed away, the nurses found him in his room holding his challenge coin in his hands like he was praying. So that meant so much to him that he didn't grab his call button to call for help or anything like that. He grabbed his challenge coin and started praying. And so that's when it kind of hit. You're like, wow. And,
Yeah.
and we're how many guys are never getting that thank you at the end of life?
Exactly.
Or during life. Yes.
So you started your nonprofit.
Yes, Brothers in Arms Worldwide, and we really wanted to focus on non-pharmacological intervention to PTSD and TBI. I myself had 2 TBIs. One when I was in the Navy, which was severe enough that I had to have surgical intervention, and then in the Army when I was wounded in Iraq. Because my helmet was damaged, they said, okay, that's a mild TBI at least right there. And then PTSD. I did not realize I had PTSD. I don't think anybody that has it, when they're going through it, realizes that they have PTSD. It took my ex-wife to let me know that, oh, by the way, I think you need to go see somebody. And so going through that, I did cognitive behavioral therapy with eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy. At one point, the hyperbaric oxygen therapy, it was effective to the point where it was re-engaging parts of the, and I didn't realize I didn't feel as much fear anymore, but when I got into the hyperbaric oxygen therapy after about 20 dives, I had to get out of that chamber. I could not sit in there anymore. I mean, I was ready to beat the walls out to get out of there.
Really?
So I started using medical acupuncture to alleviate the stress, so I can continue doing the hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And so there's so many modalities out there that don't involve medication.
Right.
But what are we doing? We're using off-label medication as the core of what we're doing.
It's easy.
Yes, yes. And now we're experimenting with MDMR. You know, and let's give people the, ecstasy, basically.
Yeah.
And, well, they're very happy afterwards.
Right.
Well, there's a surprise.
Why not heroin?
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's one of the reasons why we look at all these different modalities. And
So what you're saying really is that there are a lot of opportunities for veterans to get better,
yes,
and that the opportunities don't always involve drugs.
right.
And even for those who may be taking drugs, there are other modalities that may be available to them
Right.
that might really make a difference in their lives if they were to pursue those modalities.
Correct. And I'm not trying to discount Big Pharma's
Right,
influence
I
on this.
understand.
And for like somebody who couldn't afford, my insurance company would not pay for medical acupuncture. So it was $112 a session to go get medical acupuncture.
That's a lot of money.
Especially if you're homeless,
Right.
But we will give you Xanax, So if you have that that fear, that overwhelming anxiety, hey, let's bring Big Pharma in where they're needed to go ahead and get through the next step, and then we can use these other modalities and no one cure for everything. Certain things work
Correct.
for certain veterans. Only 2% of the population may respond to equine therapy. But if that's going to help the veteran, why aren't we providing it for them? Why isn't there an
Right.
outlet through other partners to make sure that everybody gets what's beneficial for that individual veteran?
Right, and there has to be a tool for assessing to find
Right.
out what will work for that
Right.
person.
Right, and we've talked about this before. First responders don't have the benefit of the VA. So
Right.
there's no VA for police officers or firefighters or first responders who see the same thing that combat veterans see on a daily basis.
Right.
But they're right here at home, and they don't have an outlet.
Yeah, and the thing that's interesting about what you're doing is that you're creating an opportunity for people to talk to you about what's going on.
Correct.
And it's a safe space, and in addition to that, they have the ability to sort of engage with someone who's not being judgmental.
Correct. Well, and just to further that point, we had a gentleman that was a Korean War veteran who was homeless since he came back from Korea. He never reintegrated into society.
Right.
When he came to us, he was already terminally ill and dying. And we had a Marine go talk to him, and this Master Gunny goes in there and goes, "Hey there, devil dog. I want to give him a challenge coin. I want to thank you for your service." And this guy was, I mean, harder than woodpecker lips, man. He was not letting anything get by. He's like, "No, I don't want your coin. I travel light," And so Zip was very gracious and said, "All right, I'm not here to pry, but I think you're a national treasure. And as a fellow Marine, I'm honored to know you." And after about 5 minutes of just talking, this guy broke down and says, "I don't know why I'm telling you this. I've never told anybody. But I watched a friend of mine killed right in front of me in Korea. We were improving our fighting position. A mortar round blew up, and he talked about having to pull this guy's body parts off him, and so he came back, but he never came home. But for that minute when he was talking to Zip, he wasn't carrying that burden alone anymore. So he
Right.
finally got it off his chest, and he got another Marine to share that with. So that, and there's no judgment. I mean, we've all been there. We've walked the same walk. So those are the kind of stories that give me goosebumps when he says, "I've never told anybody that." And
Right,
he
right.
opens up to another veteran.
But it gives them a sense of peace,
Yes.
maybe,
Absolutely.
to know that maybe not just that he's not alone, but that what he did is not a bad
Sure.
thing.
Absolutely.
There's no judgment.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so you and your wife are still providing the hospice services for veterans?
We're in the process of selling, so we can focus fully on our philanthropy side of it, because we talked about the healthcare industry before, but CMS is, they put so many rules into actually being able to provide the kind of care we want to provide. So it was easier just to focus on the philanthropy side, and then not having to worry about people being in terminal stages before we could go ahead and help with that. But we did find another veteran who had our same passion, who was actually also a survivor of military sexual trauma in her own right, so she's got that passion. So,
Wow.
and then she could relate on a different level, because I mean there's a growing number of women in the military that have PTSD due to military sexual trauma.
Right, and I bring this up, the transition up, just because there's an opportunity for advocacy as well, which is something you're doing. You're helping people get benefits that they may not know they're entitled to.
Correct.
Or you're helping people to become aware of opportunities that veterans may be entitled to. And because people don't know that, they don't have a place to go to do that.
Sure.
You're a resource.
We have story after story, and one guy in particular attempted to commit suicide in 2002 on Memorial Day. And he sent his wife and kids to the store, and then as soon as they left, he tried hanging himself in the garage. And his wife forgot something, came home, and saw him hanging there. Kids are screaming in the car. She's holding him up, screaming for help. Didn't have a cell phone in 2002, so she ran next door to the neighbors, said, "Call 911, my husband's trying killing himself." She ran back and held him up to the paramedics, cut him down. Well, now he's got a anoxic brain injury. He's a quadriplegic. He's been living in a skilled nursing facility since 2002, zero VA benefits whatsoever. When it first happened, she went to a veteran service officer here in Orange County, and they said, "No, you're not qualified for anything." So we tried applying for PTSD disability for him. They said, well, he wasn't diagnosed before he got out with PTSD, and denied the claim. And then since he's living in a skilled nursing facility and he is a wartime era veteran, we applied for aid and attendance for him. And we had the doctor there apply, sign it. They disapproved the claim because he could not make it as a quadriplegic in a skilled nursing facility to the VA facility to be seen by a VA doctor.
Oh my God.
So we're fighting that right now, trying to get them the benefits that it's he's
Every day.
earned. That's
right. He served our country.
Yes.
He's earned those benefits.
Yes.
I think the real important takeaway is that for veterans and first responders is that there are people out there who are really devoted to serving you, and there is an opportunity for you to get the benefits that you're entitled to, but you have to educate yourself and you have to reach out.
Correct. And other veterans are always willing to help another veteran.
So how are you helping veterans and first responders access these benefits?
Through the foundation, we're creating a Navigator Program, First Responders and Veteran Navigator, to go ahead and provide real-life people contact, not an app, somebody they can call and talk to, that will help guide them through whatever issue they may be having, whether it's financial, legal, medical, getting in touch with benefits. So it's an all-inclusive way of making sure that the entire veteran or first responder is being taken care of.
And is there an opportunity for people who want to support you to provide donations? Is this a 501c3 organization?
It is a 501c3, and brothersinarmsworldwide.org is one way they can donate directly on the website. Or if they use Amazon, go to smile.amazon.com and put us as their preferred charity, and then a percentage of every purchase that they would normally make will be donated to our foundation.
There's such a need for taking care of veterans, and I think one of the things that they have to realize is that in a way it's up to them to take the first step, but there are organizations like yours that are out there to receive them and to help them. So it's up to them to take the first step, but we are here to support you, and I really want to thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you. It was my pleasure. And thank you for having me.